Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth. But some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it. But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president? I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. I hope you caught that. That was the President of the United States unable to state unequivocally that he would uphold the Constitution. I'm old enough to remember when Donald Trump posted on social media during the last campaign that he would terminate the Constitution if he could. We talked about it at the time here on this network, and predictably, the Trump sycophants and enablers said we were overreacting. But I have lost count of the number of times this president has flouted constitutional norms, from his very first presidential act, the so-called Muslim ban, to his lawyer's claim that he could order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate political rivals and be immune from prosecution, to his repeated and persistent violations of the Emoluments Clause as he uses his presidency to enrich himself and his family. But through all of that, there was at least a veneer, a pretense of respect for the Constitution. We're past that now. When directly asked if he believes it's his responsibility to uphold the Constitution, Donald Trump said, without hesitation, I don't know. More than anything, what gets me is the casualness of his response, the ease with which he dismisses the most important aspect of his oath of office. Every person I served alongside in uniform swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. To hear the Commander-in-Chief so easily dismiss it, it's yet another warning of just how insufficient our norms and traditions will be in reining in this president. I spoke with journalist and author David Rothkopf about all this. He's got a brilliant new article out that details many of the constitutional violations of the first 100 days of Trump's second term and how perilously close we are to autocracy. Here's our conversation. Welcome to the Ken Harbaugh Show. I'm joined by David Rothkopf, a foreign policy expert, host of the Deep State Radio podcast, and the author of many books and the Substack Need to Know. Thanks for joining us, David.
It's good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Your latest Substack is a litany of Trump's failures in his first 100 days, which is something a lot of people have been writing about. But I'm wondering if you think he sees it that way. This administration, in some ways, feels like the last months of Stalin's regime or any dictatorial regime in which the strongman only tolerates favorable news. His inner circle of confidence is growing smaller and tighter, and it just seems like it's creating an information barrier that's oblivious to the reality surrounding it. I don't know if you saw his 100 Days rally, but that's the impression I was left with. Is he living in an alternate universe, even more delusional than the one he usually inhabits?
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. He is. But, I've written a number of books on how the White House works, how the policy apparatus in the White House works. And one of the phenomena that you encounter in studying this is something called groupthink. This happens in almost every White House, where everybody in the White House is hanging out primarily with each other. They're busy. They're working around the clock. And they start to sort of, believe their own bullshit. They're like, well, okay, we're saying this and that must be so. And it just amplifies itself. And it's very hard for people in any ivory tower to be in touch with the real world around them. But in Trump's case, I think we're at a kind of a inflection point in that, where we're going from the usual kind of destructive groupthink to fatal groupthink, where it's not just that they believe their own propaganda, It's that most of what they believe isn't true. And that's because Trump is a liar. The people around him are liars. The people around him thinks they want to hear lies. And the result is that the world, as you say, they're out of touch. They're living on another planet. First of all, a bunch of Trump and a bunch of the people around him are billionaires, right? They're not even going to be affected by most of the bad policies that take place. So they're at a remove to begin with. But then add in the lies of Stephen Miller or the distorted view of reality of Pam Bondi or the, egregious misrepresentations of Elon Musk. And you've got a president who doesn't know what's true. And you saw that. I mean, just yesterday, Trump, or the day before, Trump did an interview about this MS-13, tattoo on Garcia Abrego's hand and Abrego Garcia's hand. And Trump's like, no, that's real. And you had to wonder, is this guy lying or does he actually not know the truth? And I tend to believe he actually does not know the truth.
I tend to agree, and it is in keeping with the history of dictatorial regimes. We're not there yet with Trump, but the features they all rhyme, right? And you just get the sense that that circle around him realizes that their only means of survival is not upsetting him, telling him what he wants to hear. And we've seen this play out time and again throughout history. There's that old saying, dictatorships look great until the last 5 minutes. In some ways, it feels like we're in the last 5 minutes.
Well, I don't want to be a bad guest here, but I'm going to disagree with you. I think we're in the I think we're in the first 5 minutes. And I think, it may be that Trump's old, that makes you feel this way. Maybe the analogous situations that you describe. And for anybody who wants a taste of this, I really strongly suggest go see the movie or stream the movie, The Death of Stalin, which to me is one of the all-time greats. But it describes this kind of mentality extremely well, or portrays it. But, I think we're much closer to an autocratic police state than we want to acknowledge. It's people being grabbed off the street for things they write. People being accused of being traitors for having opinions the administration doesn't want. Museums being threatened with being shut down because they promote inappropriate ideologies. Schools being threatened and federal government financial leverage being used to get them to stop teaching certain kinds of classes. The president signing executive orders saying that the military will be used to bring governors and mayors and states that do not comply with his policies into line. I could go on and on. Your listeners know it. The reality is we are much, much further down the road towards authoritarian state than anybody would ever believe possible in the United States.
Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, your workouts, your sleep, and even your stress management. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into the fuel that keeps you going. Because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, etc. Take the next step to improving your health. Go to lumen.me/Ken to get 20% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/Ken for 20% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
What I worry about, and the reason I say it's the first 5 minutes, is that I think it's going to get worse. And the more pain the people of the United States feel, the more likely it is that they stand up, which is what they need to do. But how big a demonstration will it take before Trump tries to do what he did during the Black Lives Matter protest in June of 2020 and says, okay, we're going to deploy the troops? Pete Hegseth is not going to stand up against that. Right. Stephen Miller is going to be whispering in his ear going, you got it, boss. This is the way to bring America, into the golden age that you've discussed. And somebody's going to get shot. And they're going to react to that with more strength, not less strength. And that's what worries me. And that's why I think it may be the first 5 minutes and not the last 5 minutes.
I don't disagree with any of that. And you've just laid out my nightmare scenario as well, which I think we need to acknowledge is far more likely this time, with a Secretary of Defense and a chairman. Well, we don't know enough about the chairman yet, but we do know that Milley was the only thing standing between Trump and the invocation of the Insurrection Act, the shooting of protesters. We don't have that safeguard anymore. So it is, I wouldn't just say possible, but probable that is going to happen. That's what they want to happen. In fact, they are looking for an excuse to invoke martial law. But in that litany of outrages you listed, it seems like many of those, if not most of those, are things that a desperate administration does, that an administration does that's not confident about its policies or its popularity. And I'm thinking about some of the more intelligent people in the Trump regime who are acting as if they have a few months, if not, a year or so, to get done what they need to get done, because it's all going to blow up in their face.
Who are they?
J.D. Vance.
Well, okay. We can debate J.D. Vance's intellect if you like, but I don't think J.D. Vance is a hugely consequential player in all of this. I think he was put there as a sop to Peter Thiel, possibly Musk and that crowd. I think he will do what he is told to do. He has proven to be a political weather vane, and pointing in the direction of whichever way the winds are blowing. And I would be more concerned about others. I wrote a book at the end of the last Trump administration called American Resistance. In the book, I went and I talked to a lot of people in the Trump cabinet, sub-cabinet, senior people, been Republicans all their lives. People like Mark Esper, who was also influential in the decision that you just talked about, but other cabinet members, and every single one of them said, if Trump gets reelected, what he's going to do is he's going to gut the government of anybody he thinks is in opposition to him. He's going to place loyalists in, and he's going to strike back at what he has seen as government efforts to bring him down. And what we would consider to be the checks and balances that have long made our government more functional, better than many other governments in the world. And what all these people said to me, I talked to over 100 of them, is exactly what's come to pass. The Trump is focused on a government in which loyalty to Trump is the goal, is the achievement. As you may have noticed, we're 100 days in today. Congratulations, happy 100 days. And they've achieved nothing Zero. No legislation, no major achievements. Every single major campaign promise, rounding up more people than anybody ever rounded up on immigration, improving the economy, using tariffs to create jobs and make us prosperous, making America respected in the world today. Literally every single promise he made has not only not been kept, but has been met by the reverse, negative steps, pain, and they've achieved nothing. Except one thing. They're breaking down the institutions of the U.S. government in order to get maximum compliance with Trump, maximum comfort for Trump, a Trump-centric view of the world that supersedes the Constitution, our laws, our traditions, our institutions. And that has been their primary goal. And we all pay a huge price for it. And as we both said, I'm afraid it's going to get worse before it gets better.
That was part 1 of my conversation with David Rothkopf. Check out part 2 tomorrow, where David provides a roadmap for how we can use Trump's missteps to fight back. See you then.
New Meidas merch drop! Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more, all at store.meidastouch.com.